Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Everybody, peace. Welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan, and we have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today, guys. And I was debating with myself on where I actually want to start this show off, but I think I want to start with the biggest news that occurred overnight. But before we go there, we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting stuff. We're going to be talking about the FIBA World Cup Semifinals matchups between Serbia and Canada, and between Germany and the USA. And we're also going to be dissecting the recent contract extension that was given to LSU's women's head coach, Kim Mulkey, and what that means for the sport. And we're going to close out the show with us breaking down and dissecting the right mental approach that all incoming freshmen need to have going into training camp and going into preseason. Now, this mindset and this mental approach can be applied to in freshmen at any level, whether it be high school or collegiate, whether it be Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, JUCO. It doesn't matter. This mental approach is necessary for all incoming freshmen to be successful in their first season. So we're going to break that down, and I'm going to talk about that. And if you haven't already, guys, be sure to subscribe to us and hit that like button as well. And be sure to be tuned in for all of our other sports shows as well. Our baseball show, our college football show, our fantasy football show, and our NFL show as well. All of our hosts provide great content, so be sure to subscribe to us to stay up to date on all of that content. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on Patreon as well to stay up to date on any exclusive content that we may release as well. So, with that being said, let's talk about the biggest news right now in women's college basketball, and that is Kim Mulkey. For those of you who don't know, Kim Mulkey, current head coach of the LSU Tigers, agreed to a 10-year, $32 million extension. 10 years, $32 million extension. This now puts her annual salary at $3.2 million per year, making her the highest paid head coach in women's basketball, surpassing Gino Auriemma, who is making $2.9 million per year annually. And Kim Mulkey is, for those of you who don't know, is coming off extremely phenomenal success, winning a national championship with the LSU Tigers, defeating the Iowa Hawkeyes in the national championship game this past season. Kim Mulkey has had an extensive and phenomenal coaching career at Baylor, where she won 2 national championships. And for her to win a championship in her first season at LSU is phenomenal, and it is almost unheard of in the realm of women's college basketball. And what this contract represents is, one, that boosters and athletic departments are willing and able to invest in women's college basketball, into their women's basketball programs, if they know their women's program is going to generate revenue and is going to generate money. And I say that because the LSU women's basketball team has the highest total revenue and the highest total money, or the highest amount of money in NIL deals across its roster. And that's not just in women's basketball, but that's across the entire NCAA athletics. So, who's on the roster for the LSU Women's Tigers? So there's angelreese, There's Flo J. Johnson. There's Haley Van Lith, the top transfer coming out of Louisville. These 3 players alone account for 60. I want to make sure I have the stat right. 65%. Those 3 players account for 65% of the NIL deal, of the NIL money and revenue that's coming into LSU women's basketball program. So what this tells me is that LSU women's basketball program is going to be able to generate a large amount of money, a large amount of wealth with their popularity, with their social media presence. And so with their ability to generate more money, that means that the athletic department is going to be willing to invest more money into its program. And this shows the direction that women's college basketball is going in, and it kind of ties into what we discussed yesterday with the WNBA in terms of its marketability and being able to market to multiple demographics and being able to generate money off of that marketability. That if you're able to market yourself in the right way, if you're able to create a marketing campaign, an advertising campaign that's appealing to the general public, then you're going to be able to generate revenue. And if you're able to generate revenue and more money, that means multiple businesses, companies are going to give you endorsements. So that ties and segues into the women's college basketball, and LSU is able to do all of that. And since they're able to do all of that, they're able to invest into their coach more, or in the multiple different areas of the program, but starting off with the head coach. And we see coaches like Kim Mulkey, Gina Auriemma, and Dawn Staley, who also should be up there as one of the highest paid women's college basketball coaches, with her ability to establish culture and what she's done with the South Carolina Gamecocks, who you could argue has been the most dominant women's college basketball team throughout the late 2010s and into the early 2020s. But those 3 programs alone, UConn, LSU, and South Carolina, are all representations of being able to market yourself correctly and winning basketball and establishing great culture, and how that leads to generating revenue. And one thing that I have heard that's been consistent with Kim Mulkey throughout all of her years of coaching and the multiple players that have played under her, they all have said the same thing, and that's her ability. She has a inept, or almost a surreal ability to connect and create relationships with her players. And that's why she's able to go out and get players like Angelreese to transfer from Maryland to LSU. She's able to get players like Haley Van Lith to transfer from Louisville to LSU. She's able to retain talented players like Flo J. Johnson and Katari Poole. That her ability to relationship build is huge. And so you're able to get these players to stay, and you're able to create a winning program, because now you have players that have been under your culture and are used to your environment. And so now when you got incoming freshmen that are coming in, you have these juniors and seniors and post-grad seniors that are able to help you establish that culture and help show the incoming freshmen how to do the right thing and what their approach and what they should be doing to help improve the program. And we'll talk about this later on a future episode, but the most important thing that a coach can do is not be a tactician with X's and O's and run or create perfect sideline out of bound plays or baseline out of bound plays or be able to draw up a quick hitter to win the game. That's not what a coach is paid for. That's not what a coach should be best at. The most important skill that a head coach can have is relationship building, because that's all leadership position is, and that's all coaching is. At the end of the day, you're just cultivating relationships with your players. And Kim Mulkey has shown that she has an amazing ability to connect and empathize and like we said, connect with her players. And if you're able to connect and you're able to draw that allows you to draw the most out of your players. If a player feels like you care about them, they're able to do 10 times more than what they would be able to do if they felt like you didn't care about them. So Kim Mulkey's ability to not only establish culture first and foremost, but also connect with her players and able to show them that she cares about not just their well-being and their success on the court, but also their success off the court as well. That allows her to maintain healthy relationship with her players, but also keep them accountable, but also allows them to buy into her culture. Because it doesn't matter how much you know about the game. It doesn't matter how many championships you have. It doesn't matter how many titles you won. It doesn't matter how long you've been coaching. No one cares. Absolutely no one cares about any of that until they know how much you care about them. And until you can show them how much you care about them, your knowledge and your status means absolutely nothing at all. And that not only applies to basketball, but that applies to life in itself as well. Because we all know sports is just a microcosm for life. So if we can have the ability to show people, to show these players how much we care about them, then they're that much more likely to buy into the culture, to buy into the system, which makes it easier to win. And that's why you see players once again, like Dawn Staley, Gino Auriemma, Muffy McGraw, Kim Mulkey. All of these coaches have the same reputation by their players, and that is that they always talk about how great of all of the players that Gino has coached, that Dawn Staley has coached, that Kim Mulkey has coached, that Muffy McGraw has coached, all of them say the same thing. Before they even touch basketball, they talk about how great of a person, how great of an individual their coach is. And that's the biggest compliment. That is the highest form of reverence that you can give a coach. Is if the first compliment you give them is about their personality, is about who they are as an individual. And that's the constant amongst all of those coaches. Most of their players don't talk about the X and O's or talk about how great of a basketball mind their coaches were. They talk about how good of a person they were. And that's huge. That's key. And that common trait, that common denominator is in all winning programs, not just in women's college basketball, but also in men's college basketball. Think about coaches like Tom Izzo and when Roy Williams used to coach, and Bill Self. These Jay Wright, Jim Boeheim when he was coaching. All of these great coaches have the non-puerile ability to connect and empathize with their players, but also hold them accountable. But you can't hold anyone accountable until you're able to show them that you do empathize, that you do care about them. And Kim Mulkey has shown that she has a non-puerile ability to do that, which has not only led to her success in winning a championship in her first season at LSU, but also with her getting this historic contract extension. So it's no surprise to me that Kim Mulkey has been able to have the success that she's had at LSU in her first season, and that she was able to obtain this contract extension. And it's if you're asking me, it's well deserved because they're investing in Mulkey for the future. And I won't be surprised if LSU continues to have immense success, despite them playing in the same conference as South Carolina, who is going to be bringing back Camila Cardozo and Raven Johnson, fresh off a Final Four appearance. And this shows where the state of women's college basketball is going, and where it's trending upwards to. And with marketability, it's become much more easy to market these players, and programs are feeding off of that, and now they can invest into the programs, and that's beautiful to see. But doesn't matter how much you can market yourself, doesn't matter how much you can invest, if the culture's not there, it doesn't matter. But LSU has both. They have the marketability, and they also have the culture with Kim Mulkey. So it was great to see how they move forward this upcoming season. But Speaking of season, speaking of coming to the end of the line, the FIBA World Cup has reached its semifinal portion of the tournament, and we're going to be covering the semifinals matchups between Serbia and Canada and Germany and USA. So guys, stick around. We're going to be covering all of that when we come back. All right, everybody, welcome back. If you missed our first segment, we broke down and discussed what this historic contract extension for Kim Mulkey means for not only the LSU Tigers, but also for women's college basketball as a whole. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to us. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon as well to stay up to date on all of our exclusive content. And stick around for our last segment of the show, where I'm going to be discussing the right approach, the right mental approach that all incoming freshmen should have going into preseason and going into training camp. I want to start this segment off by discussing, though, the FIBA World Cup matchups, the semifinals matchups in the FIBA World Cup. So if you haven't been watching the FIBA World Cup, I don't know what you've been doing, but there's been great and phenomenal basketball throughout the entirety of the FIBA World Cup. We've had a Cinderella run from Latvia. We've had dominating performances by Canada, by USA, and by Germany in itself. And we've had great individual performances as well from Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, and Bogdan Bogdanovic of Serbia, and the point guard from Latvia. His name is leaving my mind, forgive me. But I want to talk about the semifinals matchups because we have undoubtedly the four best teams, the four best national teams in the world right now playing in the semifinals. And I want to start by breaking off first going over the breakdown between Serbia and Canada. So this matchup between Serbia and Canada features two teams that focus on different ends of the ball. So Serbia is an extremely stout defensive team that is extremely physical, that likes to fight through ball screens in their man-to-man defense. And on those ball screens, the big likes to get bumped to the guard. We call it a hedge and recover. That's the correct term for it. And so that hedge and recover just allows the guard that's defending the ball time to get over that ball screen and get back to the man. It's much more physical. It gets more bump to the offense. And if as a team, if you're not well equipped, that intensity and that physicality over the course of the game can start to wear down on you. And that's what Serbia has been able to do. And Serbia also does a good job of controlling the boards. They have a rebounding margin of plus 30 throughout the course of the tournament. So they are a highly talented defensive team. However, they can struggle at times on the offensive end. Though they are efficient, they struggle at times to score. They struggle at times to get easy baskets because they don't have, outside of Bogdan Bogdanovic, and I'm not sure if we can really count him, they don't have anyone that can break down their defender in a one-on-one situation. Now, the thing that benefits them is that because this is FIBA rules or FIBA style of play, they don't have to worry too much about going one-on-one in the offensive set, especially in the half-court set. It's much more grounded and based in movement of the ball, swinging the ball from wing to wing, a lot of weak side action. And so that's where they can be successful, but at times they do struggle to score because they don't have anyone that can break down their man in one-on-one situation, i.e. late in the shot clock when the shot needs to go off. However, with Canada, I won't say they're the exact opposite, but it's easier for them to score because of the talent they have on their team. You could argue they have the best player of the tournament so far in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have R.J. Barrett. They have Kelly Olynyk. They have Dylan Brooks. They have the big man Powell that plays in Dallas. So Canada in total has 9 players on NBA rosters, while Serbia only has 3. And that talent margin is going to prove pivotal for the outcome of the game. Though Canada is a good defensive team, they're not as good as a defensive team as Serbia in terms of physicality. But what Canada does well, they have a great ability of jumping the passing lanes and having active hands on the weak side, which leads to more steals, which leads to more fast break opportunities, which leads to easier scoring opportunities, which allows Canada to not have to play in the half court as often. Canada is looking to run. They're looking to score early. They're looking to score often, and they're looking to produce off of the turnovers. They're looking to score points off the turnovers that they create, and that's been their MO. That's been their success so far. And the way that I see this game going is that in the first half, it is going to be extremely physical. Serbia is going to look to slow the pace down, to run their sets. However, when it comes to basketball, the talent margin, when it's this wide of a talent margin, very rarely do you see teams with the lesser amount of talent be able to pull off an upset of this not an upset, but a win of this magnitude. the only way that teams with the lower talent level can win these type of matchups is if they completely stick to their program and to their scouting report, and they never deviate from what they do best. What you see in matchups like this a lot is teams like the teams with lesser talent level, they try to play with, or they try to match the play style of the team with the higher talent level. I.e., so if you have a team with a lower talent level that likes to slow the ball down and run their sets, i.e. Serbia, and they go up against a team like Canada who likes to get up and down the court, what you see most of the time is that teams with lower talent level, sometimes subconsciously and not instinct and not consciously, they just do it out of instinct. They try to match the same playing style of the team with the higher talent level because they see that it works for them, and they say, okay, well, maybe I can do the same. We can do the same thing. But that's not the case. As a team with lower talent level, you have to stick to what you do best, and you have to really follow your game plan to a T. And that comes to the coaching staff keeping their players accountable, not just during the practices leading up to the game, but also during the game. Even that, if that means, and I'm not a fan of taking timeouts. Personally, I believe that you have to allow your players to play through certain runs and certain spurts. But when you have matchups like this, you do have to use your timeouts early to keep your team, your players accountable for what the game plan is and what our systems are. And that's what Serbia should look to do. They should look to really to stick to their game plan, and that's running their half-court sets, being physical in the defensive end, and slowing the pace down completely, limiting scoring opportunities for Canada by doing so. But this game's going to be physical in the second half. However, the talent level of Canada is going to start to show itself primarily in the third quarter. Early, I think, going to the third quarter start of it, Canada's going to go out to a big run, i.e. a 16-3, 17-6, 18-5, something in that range where Canada is able to create a lot of scoring opportunities off of turnovers in the fast break. And that margin that's created in the third quarter, Canada is able to hold out going into the fourth and leading to the end of the game. Similar to how they fared off against, how they ended the game against Slovenia. So I do have Canada winning this game by a score of 93-79. And that allows Canada to move into the World Cup final. So the other World Cup, the other semifinal matchup that we have is Germany and USA. And for those of you who don't know, this is a rematch of an exhibition that occurred on August 19th, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that, someone correct me. Where Germany actually had a 16-point lead going into halftime against Team USA. But we all know that was Anthony Edwards' coming out party for Team USA. And he scored 16 points in the second half to help lead Team USA to a 9-point victory. Now, what I love most about Germany is that they are consistent. They are consistent in attacking their ball screens. Every time they're hunting for those ball screens, those guards. So whether it be Dennis Schroeder or when they move Franz Wagner out to the wing, they're attacking early, they're attacking often off of those ball screens. So most of the times when you set a ball screen in the offensive set, especially in the half court, sometimes you're not necessarily looking to probe the paint, you're not looking to score, you're just looking to initiate the offense to help get movement. But what Germany does by attacking the off that ball screen consistently, it allows them to put more pressure on Team USA. And I just want to make this example right here. So I play professional basketball, and as a guard, it is very clear and direct when teams know that I don't attack consistently off that ball screen. What happens is they start to sit off and they start to almost shade you to where your offense is going. And now it's harder to run your offense because if the defenders know that I'm not even looking to penetrate, I'm not looking to be aggressive off of that ball screen, then they're saying to myself, well, I know Casuan's not going to shoot. I know he's not going to look to score. So I don't have to worry about going hard through this ball screen. We can just switch it or hedge and recover it, and we'll be good. But when, i.e., so this past season when I played in Luxembourg, when I attack early, attack often off those ball screens, one, it allows teams to no longer hedge and recover, which is what a lot of teams like to do on ball screens, but now they're forced to switch. And now when that switch occurs, now I have a big on me as opposed to a guard. Now I can attack early, attack quickly, attack that big because he's not quick enough to stay in front of me. That creates a mismatch. So now I blow by, and now the help side has to come up. The help side comes, I'm able to kick it out to the wing or to the corner, which leads to an open shot. And so it's not necessarily about running your sets all the time. It's more so about being aggressive. It's more so about being aggressive in your moments of attacking. So off that ball screen, not necessarily looking to just run your offense, but if you see a mismatch, if you see an opportunity to attack, you have to attack that. And that's what Germany does well. That attacking creates mismatches, which leads to easier scoring opportunities. And for me, that's what led to my success as a professional. And it's no mistake that Germany has the same success when they're able to attack early, attack often off that ball screen. And that's where USA is going to struggle defensively. They have to find a way to limit their switching. They have to find ways to hedge and recover, or they have to find ways to either go under the ball screen and give up that shot to Dennis Schroeder. They live with him shooting that. They live with Franz Wagner shooting that three off the dribble. And if USA can find ways to defend that ball screen, then that will lead to their success. I'll be completely frank with you guys. I'll be extremely candid. Sometimes you have to talk yourself into a prediction. You have to talk yourself into a decision that you want to make. And throughout the entirety of my pre-script writing and coming up with notes for the show, I didn't know where I wanted to go with this. I didn't know where I was going with USA and Germany. I didn't know what side I wanted to choose. And they say head over heart. And I'm a fan of watching great basketball. And you're asking, I'm telling you guys right now what the prediction I'm about to make, and I quite frankly, I talked myself into this, and I won't be surprised if I'm wrong. I will not be surprised if I'm wrong. But I do see Germany winning this game. If Germany wins this game, it will be by the slimmest of margins. And if Germany wins, it's because USA is not able to limit their turnovers. So right now, I have Germany winning this game by a score of 92-89. Extremely close game. However, I want to give this caveat, and it's not a cop-out, I promise, guys. It is a caveat. If USA is able to limit their turnovers to under 10, if USA is able to limit their turnovers to under 10, they will win this game. However, if they have 10 or more turnovers, then Germany will win this game. And that is what I have for my matchup, my prediction for the matchup between for Germany and USA. Sometimes you just gotta talk yourself into talking it out leads to the right decision, leads to the right answer. So we'll see where things go with that. But guys, in our next segment, we're going to be discussing the right mental approach that all incoming freshmen should have going to the start of training camp and going to the start of the preseason. So guys, stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed our last two segments, in our first segment, we discussed the historic contract extension that Kim Mulkey received from the LSU women's basketball team. And in the second segment, we covered and dissected and broke down the semifinal matchups between Germany and USA and Serbia and Canada. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Be sure to subscribe to us as well on Patreon to stay up to date on all of our exclusive content as well if you haven't already. That way you're not missing out on any of the beautiful content that we are delivering to you guys. With this last segment, guys, I want to break down something that's key and vital for all incoming freshmen. And when writing out my notes for this, I initially had it geared towards basketball. But as I start to broaden my scope and really look at this from an objective lens, this approach for incoming freshmen is not only applied to basketball, but also can be applied to all sports, i.e. football, soccer, volleyball, baseball, hockey, tennis, any sport, whatever sport you play. This mental approach is necessary to have. And I want to start off this segment by just telling a story about the approach I had as a freshman going into college basketball. So for those of you who don't know, I played collegiate basketball at Southern Virginia University. And leaving high school, I was the all-time leader in assists, steals, and I was third in scoring for my high school. So I had developed a mindset and an attitude about myself that I felt like I was the best player every time I stepped on the court. By doing throw this caveat, I had extreme work ethic, and I still do have extreme work ethic as a professional, but I allowed my work ethic, I allowed my training to speak for myself. And I had realized that my training, my work ethic, my confidence, which comes from work ethic, is going to translate to the next level because that's a consistency. You might have growing pains with adjusting to the athleticism and maybe the skill set of playing collegiately going from high school to college, but the work ethic is consistent, it's the same, and that's what really separates you. So having that mindset going into college, I was initially under the impression that, okay, I'm here in college as a freshman. I'm one of the top recruits that coming into Southern Virginia University. I need to prove something. I need to make my presence known. I need to make an impact the moment I step on the court. I need to make an impact the moment I step into our first pickup game, the moment I step into our first workout, our first off-season workout, our preseason workout. And that was my initial mindset coming in. And after the first 2 weeks of preseason and training camp, and for those of you who don't know, when you first get to college, it's a lot of what we call open gyms where it's everyone that's on the team plays pickup for normally about 2 or 3 hours during the day because you're not, at least with Division III, you're not allowed to practice officially until October 15th. So we get there in August and it's organized pickup, and we also have preseason workouts in the weight room, which are voluntary, but those are actually mandatory, and all of it's really mandatory. And however, so my mindset was, okay, I need to come in here and prove something to everybody, to the entire program, to show them why I should be here and why they brought me here. So going into pickup, I'm ultra aggressive, I'm combative, I'm loud, I'm talking, but not communicating in the sense of basketball, but communicating in the sense of saying, you can't guard me, I'm the best player out here. Extremely volatile, extremely, like I said, combative. And I feel like I had to show people that I was the best player out here. And that also translated over into the weight room as well, where I feel like I need to lift the most in our lifts. I feel like I need to do the most in our lifting, and I need to be the last person leave and the first person there for our workouts. And in that essence right there, that's fine. You wanting to be the first person in the gym and want to be the last person there. That's fine. That concept is fine. However, thinking that you need to prove something to the other players there, to the coaches there when you first arrive, that's a toxic mental approach to have, and is detrimental because it breaks you down and wears you down, because you're putting extra pressure on yourself that doesn't need to be there. And I'm saying also to say, so my freshman year, I struggled because I put extra pressure on myself by feeling I needed to prove something to everybody every single time, as opposed to just accepting and being grateful for the opportunity, and understanding that I'm going to have growing pains. I'm going to have moments where I struggle because this level of basketball is new for me. And as a freshman coming into your first season, whether it be high school, whether it be college, wherever, approach it from a sense of growth. Understand that you're going to struggle. You're going to fail. You're going to have moments where you might, for lack of better words, feel like you suck. And that's okay. That's part of the process. Don't put extra pressure on yourself by saying, I need to show that I'm the best guard out here. I need to show that I'm the best shooter out here. I need to show that I'm the best big out here. I need to show that I'm the best defender out here. Don't have that approach. Have the approach that I'm going to play my game. I'm going to do what they brought me here to do. So if they brought you in there to be a defender, they brought you in there to be a playmaker, they brought you in there to orchestrate your offense, focus on doing that. But don't think to yourself, I have to prove something to somebody. You're already there. The only thing you have to prove, the only person you have to prove anything to, and not just in basketball but in life as well, is yourself. So just tell yourself, I'm going to hold myself accountable by being the best version of myself every practice, every workout, and every training, every pickup game. I'm going to be the best version of myself. And I'm going to uplift my teammates. That is the right approach to have. Focus on getting better every day. Don't focus on trying to prove something to the rest of your teammates or to the other incoming recruits. Focus on being the best version of yourself. Focus on the details. Getting better every day. Find a routine that works for you. In another episode, we'll break down the right routine, the right workout regimen, our plan to have as a freshman. But in terms of mental approach, take it one workout, one practice at a time. Remember, if you do have a bad practice, if you do have a bad workout regimen, if you do have a bad lifting workout, if you have a bad day of pickup basketball, remember, it's a bad day, not a bad week. It's a bad week, not a bad month. It might be a bad month, but it's not a bad year. It might be a bad year, but it's not a bad lifetime. We have to look at things in perspective. Keep things in the right perspective. That allows us to look at things objectively. It allows us to be calm and cool and collected and even keeled at all times. So, things to focus on as a freshman going into your first season, going to training camp, going to preseason. 1, focus on being the best version of yourself, taking things one workout and one day at a time. Embrace your teammates. Be positive. Be uplifting. Really draw knowledge from the upperclassmen. Pick their brain. Those are two key mind frames to have. 3rd, be consistent with your work ethic. You have to work hard. You have to be in the gym, and practices don't count. You have to get workouts in outside of the practice. We'll break that down on our workout routines that freshmen should have. But have that approach that I need to work hard, not to prove something, but to make myself better. Remember, a lot of stuff is internal within ourselves. So, one more time. Approaches to have. 1, take it one day at a time. Focus on improving yourself. 2, embrace your teammates. Pick knowledge, draw knowledge from your upperclassmen, see how they do things, and see if you can take a little of those concepts as well and implement it into your workouts or into your approach. 3, work hard, be consistent with your work ethic. Be consistent, okay? Be consistent with it. So those are the 3 main concepts to have as a freshman going into high school or going into college. Having that mindset will be key and essential to having a successful freshman season. And guys, with that being said, that is all we have for our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, so you can stay up to date on all of our newest content. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on Patreon as well to stay up to date for any exclusive content that we may be delivering as well. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our baseball podcast, our fantasy football podcast, our college football podcast, and our NFL podcast as well. Guys, we'll be back again at the same time tomorrow. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and until next time, guys, peace.